The Bible is a book full of stories. It's a book about people. People who lived, loved, laughed, and cried just like we do. And some of these people had experiences so extraordinary that they leave us breathless. Enoch, Elijah, and Mary are three such individuals. What sets them apart? They were each taken from this life without experiencing death, a mystery that has captivated believers for centuries. They were flesh and blood, subject to the same weaknesses and temptations as we are. Yet they shared a unique bond, a closeness with God so profound that he chose to exempt them from the usual course of life and death. Their stories, though separated by time, are woven together by a common thread, a life lived in unwavering faith and obedience to God. As we delve into their lives, we'll uncover not just fascinating accounts, but timeless principles for living a life pleasing to God. Join me then as we journey through the lives of Enoch, Elijah, and Mary and discover the God who walks with us just as he walked with them. Genesis chapter 5 verse 24 tells us Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him away. In a world often shrouded in darkness, Enoch's life stands out as a beacon of light. He lived in a time when humanity had strayed far from its creator. Yet, amidst the prevailing wickedness, Enoch chose a different path, a path of intimate fellowship with God.
My walk with God was not a passive stroll. It was an active pursuit. It was a conscious choice to prioritize God above all else, to seek his presence above all else. And as I walked, as I surrendered, God drew closer, revealing more of himself, entrusting me with deeper truths.
Enoch's life, though briefly described in Genesis, speaks volumes. His story, though ancient, carries profound relevance for us today. In a world that often celebrates the fleeting and the superficial, Enoch's life reminds us of the enduring power of a life lived for God. It's a testament to the fact that a life surrendered to God is never a life wasted. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 5 states, "By faith Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death." He didn't see death because, in the truest sense, he had already overcome it. He had died to self, to his own desires and ambitions, and had been resurrected to a new life in Christ. He lived in the reality of eternity while still on earth, his life a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Enoch's story is an encouragement to every believer. It reminds us that God sees our faithfulness, that he honors those who walk humbly with him. Elijah bursts onto the scene in 1 Kings chapter 17 with a dramatic announcement to King Ahab. "As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years, except at my word." With these words, Elijah, whose very name means "my God is Yahweh," declared war on the rampant idolatry that had infected Israel.
I was a man of stark contrasts, a fearless prophet who could stand before kings yet display deep compassion for the common people. I was a man of the wilderness, living in desolate places yet capable of commanding fire from heaven. A man of unwavering faith, a fiery defender of God's truth in a time of spiritual compromise. Elijah's ministry was characterized by miracles, but his greatest miracle was not a display of power, it was a demonstration of faith.
Section 5, Elijah, facing down kings and calling down fire. One of the defining moments in Elijah's life was the showdown with the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. Ahab and his wife Jezebel had led Israel astray, worshipping Baal and Asherah, the Canaanite deities of fertility and prosperity. Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal to a contest, a dramatic display of power to prove whose God was real. Hundreds of prophets of Baal gathered. They built an altar, prepared their sacrifice, and called on their God from morning until noon. They shouted, danced, and even cut themselves, but there was no response. Their God was silent. Then it was Elijah's turn. He built an altar, prepared his sacrifice, and had the people drench it with water. Then he prayed a simple prayer, and the fire of the Lord fell, consuming the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil, and even licking up the water in the trench. Section 6, Elijah ascending to glory. After decades of powerful ministry, Elijah's time on earth was coming to an end. But unlike anyone before him, except for Enoch, Elijah was not destined to see death. 2 Kings chapter 2 tells us that as Elijah and his successor Elisha were walking along, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared with horses of fire, separating the two of them. and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind.
Imagine the scene, the sky ablaze with fire, the roar of the whirlwind, the astonishment of Elisha as his mentor and friend is taken up in a blaze of glory. What a testimony to a life lived in faithful service to God. Elijah's departure was a fitting end to an extraordinary life. It was a public demonstration of God's power and a testament to Elijah's unwavering faithfulness.